Hello YouTube, as you can see I'm in the garage at the moment and the reason for that will be obvious in a minute. Now firstly I'd like to say hello and thank you to all of our new subscribers. I think I'm up to about 170 subscribers now, which yeah, I'm really pleased about. And secondly I'd like to say sorry for the fact there was no video last week. If you look behind me you may recall from the video with the headstock bearings there was a little black Honda CB1 in that corner. Well, I had someone approach me who was interested in buying it, but it did need a few little jobs finishing off and a bit of work to get it through its MOT. So for the last week or so I've been a bit busy getting that ready, and it has gone. And you may be wondering what's under the cover. Well, it's another NC23. So you may see a bit of that a bit later on. You may not. Not quite sure what we're going to do with it yet. It's a bit bizarre. Someone had actually cut the frame and they've cut the lower front engine mounts off. So the frame's pretty useless. Might look at using the frame that I was originally going to use, reframe it, or I may just use it as a parts donor. It has got some good parts on it that I could actually reuse on my other race bike over here, which again is waiting for some work on it. So there's that, and the reason why we've not had any updates. But I have been doing a few odds and sods. As you can see by the state of the workbench, there's a lot of overspray here, and that's because I bought a new mudguard for the bike, or another mudguard for the bike, a second-hand one, but it needed painting to match the fairing, so I've been doing that. I've also been painting a few other brackets and bits and pieces, that little retainer for the rear brake caliper hose, but let's be honest, who wants to watch paint dry? So I didn't bother recording any of that. The other thing I've been doing is the exhaust we're going to use. So what we've got here is a standard NC23. It's the original Honda exhaust. It's actually a pretty good exhaust. It's a 4x2x1. There's a link pipe just here, joining the two halves, and they do actually work pretty well. They're a good exhaust. There is a little baffle in this section here, but it doesn't actually reduce the internal diameter down to any less than this, so helps cut the noise down a little bit, but doesn't really restrict the flow. Obviously if this was a proper race bike then I would be looking at probably another exhaust, but as it says in the title of the video, this is a budget build, so where possible we're going to keep costs down, hence reusing the original exhaust. Now it was in pretty good condition, it's come up pretty well after the wire brushing. The only thing I did have, there was a little pinhole just here that I've welded up, and another little pinhole here that needed welding up. And as is always the case when you go to weld up these little pinholes, it spreads until you get to good metal, so I ended up doing a weld about that long and about that long. I didn't bother recording it because A, my MIG welder's not that great, it's very much a budget affair, and B, I'm not the world's greatest welder, so it wouldn't have made for very interesting viewing. There are plenty of people on YouTube who can weld a lot better than I can, and their videos are more interesting. So the next thing we're going to do, I've got myself a can of high temperature VHT black, so we're going to give this a couple of coats of paint, and again, not something you want to watch, so spray this up, and then we're going to move over to the conservatory, and I'll show you the mudguard and a few other bits. So I'll see you there in a minute. Here we are. Well, here we are in the conservatory, and here is our freshly painted mudguard. The problem with this mudguard, I bought it second hand and it was originally white, and I was just going to bolt it on as it was. But the problem is the fairings we're going to use are red, and the bike is going to be white from the tank and the seat unit backwards. So I kind of thought I'd get away with it as white, but to be honest it was a bit scratched and scuffed, didn't look particularly great, so I thought I'd give it a coat of paint. The other problem with this mudguard is there should be 4 little tabs in here, and they're sort of a teardrop shaped piece of metal with a threaded insert in, and you bolt them through from the top. Unfortunately all those were missing on this one, so I kind of got creative in the lathe, and I found these bolts here which are quite handy. I use them a lot for fixing bodywork, and they've got a nice big flat head. They're an M6 thread, so they're fine. So I got those, and I also cut down 4 little aluminium spacers, and the idea is the spacers actually sit on the bolt, and then they go through the larger holes in the mudguard, and we bolt the mudguard on from underneath through the bolts there. Quite a nice little solution, I thought. A bit easier than trying to fabricate the teardrops with the threaded inserts. The only downside with this method, of course, is you need to remove the front wheel to fit the mudguard. So yeah, doesn't seem that long ago that we put it in, and now we're going to take it all out again. But that is so often the way with working on these motorbikes. The first job, take the calipers off. Bit of rag, and we shall bolt on the mudguard with its new fittings. As I said, it's not the correct solution, but it seemed a lot less effort than making up the correct mountings. And unfortunately, I didn't have a damaged mudguard to steal them off either, so inserts in place. And I've just realised I've forgotten to get the washers for the bolts. So I'll stop you there while I rush out, grab 4 washers, and then we'll carry on, and I'll show it to you when it's all bolted up. So there's our mudguard fitted. It's looking a bit odd to me compared to the one on my other NC23, and the reason is this is an NC30 front mudguard, not an NC23 mudguard. I did buy it thinking they'd be exactly the same, but it does look like the NC30 mudguard is a little bit shorter than the 23 at the back. So it looks a bit odd, but by the time you've got the rest of the fairing on, I'm sure it'll be fine. And now that I've painted it, I'm not going to change it. So that's it for this little episode. Sorry it's a bit of a short one and there's not a lot happening. Hopefully the next episode will be more interesting. In fact, I can guarantee it'll be more interesting because, as well as the bits that we've talked about already, I have actually started de-rusting the petrol tank, and yeah, that's turned into a little bit of a saga, so it's going to be quite a big episode next time. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.